Everyone, it's Pastor Colin here with your daily word. As we continue in this series, The Lies We Love, based on Kate Bowler's book, Everything Happens for a Reason, we've been thinking about books and texts and locations in our lives and movies even that have shaped us and formed us, hymns and songs that have given us a new insight or given us a new way of thinking about God. And this week we're thinking about books. And as you can see in the frame around me, not even half of the books that are in my office, but books are really important to me and have been an important part of my spiritual formation and my theological formation and my intellectual thinking formation. What I think and believe books are really important. And more important than that to me is the ability to mark them and highlight them and to share what I've learned in that way, and to actually go back as kind of like a piece of my own personal history to see what stood out to me at different times. To reread a book is a really fun thing for me in a way, because I can see at certain seasons of my life what I thought, what stood out to me and what was really important to me. And so in choosing a book for this daily word, which was actually a really difficult task, I kept thinking about one book in particular. And it's this book. It's called God of the Possible by Greg Boyd. It's a pastor in the Twin Cities area, but also a thinker, a theologian, has a PhD in theology. If you knew or know of Bart Ehrman, the New Testament scholar, they were at Yale at the same time. They're actually friends, but have gone in two totally different directions. And Greg Boyd wrote this book, God of the Possible, to kind of answer this question that's on the cover of the book. Does God ever change his mind? So it's an introduction to this idea that was new to me in high school and college, open theism, this idea that God indeed does and can change his mind, and there's actually biblical examples written down of God changing his mind. And this book in particular is interesting to me in thinking about this question about being formed theologically, because I look at my highlights, but not just my highlights, the content of the book, and see that I actually don't subscribe to a lot of what Greg Boyd says here, as much as I used to anyway, that for a time, this was actually a touchstone for me theologically, and I would say that I'm openly an open theist, that I subscribe to everything Greg Boyd teaches in this book. And I wouldn't say so now, but I will say that this book is important to me sentimentally, but also theologically, because I can see where I got to. I can see where I came from. I can see where I began and where I am now. I can see what was so important to me then and why at that season in my life Greg Boyd's work was so formative and helpful and comforting to me in thinking about God. If anything, it stretched me beyond just the kind of folk religion ideas I had of God. No discount to any of my teachers or preachers before that, but I was really coming into my own and my own understanding of who God was, and also taking on the task of reading and thinking more about God as I prepared for further down the road to deal with and reckon with a call to ministry. And so this book was really formative for me. All that to say, it helps to have books, not just ones that we agree with and that we would recommend and share with people all over, but to have books that we can go back and look at our highlights and our underlines and our margin comments and see where we came from. And even if we don't totally agree with the book anymore, even if we wouldn't endorse it now, even if we would have some issues with it, that we can see along the way God at work in these authors, in these writers, in these speakers. And in particular, one for me is Greg Boyd, someone I still keep up with and follow through his sermons and through his writings as he continues to publish theological and biblical works. I'm still really moved by what he teaches and what he believes and what he writes, even if sometimes I look back on the things that I read of his and think like, I wouldn't, give this my 100% stamp of approval. It's an important book to me for those many reasons, and I recommend it to you even with all that. And I hope that you have those same books too, that you can see God at work in your own life, speaking to you, shaping you, and forming you, and coming close to you in your reading. I hope you have a great week.